Alright guys, so let me explain what I've got going on here. I'm going to make a desk for my son. I've just got this piece of butcher block that starts out just as some birch wood. You get it at Home Depot, so it's already made. So this is pretty simple. All I'm doing is laying down some stain. Got what color he wanted, which is similar to my desk. He wanted it just like that. This is the back side. I've laid a second coat down on this. Seems right to the touch. I'm gonna flip it over, do the second coat on the front, and then we're gonna have to let that dry before we can go over it with some polyurethane to give it kind of a smooth, glossy feel. I've got a leg for my old desk here that was originally a little bit taller, but I chopped off a piece. This was made out of maple, so it is going to have a little bit different color than the birch wood, but with the stain, I think it's going to be close enough. So I cut this down to a typical 27.5, which will give this a 30-inch height and this 1.5 inches. Here's a little bit closer look of it. This is, I'll show you what it starts with. Got another one from my other son. It just comes in like this, so it's just you can treat this with just that the beeswax oil if you want kind of the natural birchwood look, or you can obviously stain it. I have a couple examples of this that I can show you here. So here's another example of using the same birchwood countertop. This I've used a gel gray stain on it. I built this desk a while back. I just used some 2x2 angle iron and then some 1-inch square tubing. Just kind of made a frame here. See, the bottom side is kind of, you can't really tell with the light, but it's kind of matte, so I used the gel satin. And then on the top I put some polyurethane that gives it the shine on top of that. So that's one example of how I use the same wood to create a different look. And here's yet another example of the desk I built with the toolboxes. This is the same birch wood with the same black or dark walnut finish that I'm doing on the desk today. So you can kind of see how it turned out with a satin polyurethane, so not super high gloss, but just gives it enough to resist some moisture or anything like that. So that's how this desk turned out. It turned out pretty good. And then I had made a little extension piece too that I had as a shelf, and I've added it to this desk, but the same kind of thing. So it looks really custom and nice, and it really did not take that much work. So something that anyone can do. Just go to Home Depot and get a piece of wood, some stains, and then figure out the legs. In this case, I'm using the toolbox as the legs, and then on the one today, I'm going to use a piece that I had for my old desk that started out as a maple desk. Let's walk back through Hoarder's Paradise here for a second, and I'll show you my original desk. So my original desk, computer desk, has turned into my toolbox. And this was maple. It's not completely solid maple. It's got some plywood in between, and then this has some fascia, so just added some strength to it. My buddy had built this one. He's a woodworker, and I had originally made this is 8 feet long, and then I had it 3 feet deep, and I've actually cut off, you can see my other piece of wood here. I cut off a foot when I turned it into a workbench because of the depth of the toolboxes, so I just got these Harbor Freight 46-inch I believe toolboxes, and it's worked out pretty well for a solid desk surface. The legs I originally had on this was because I used toolboxes that I have on the other desk I just showed you, those Craftsman 26s, and I had 2 of these legs in the back, and I've since repurposed one for this desk I'm building today, and the other one I used for a post out in my yard. So kind of just reusing what I have. And this has worked out good for a workbench. So back to the desk I'm building today. So these birch woods can be a bit expensive, these butcher blocks, but they're just super nice looking, and I haven't found anything that looks nicer for less. So it's kind of just the best deal I could find just around at normal stores like Home Depot. If you have woodworking skills and you could put together a butcher block yourself, obviously you could save a ton of money, but you gotta have the right tools, planers, stuff like that. I don't have that. I have some basic stuff like sanders, and I just picked up this little palm sander here because my other one was already broken. So that's what I've used to do this. And I found these new discs that are actually pretty cool. They're like reusable sanding discs. Oh, I never heard of these before, but like these mesh nets. And so I got two different ones. I got a 180 and then kind of the base level sanding. And then I got a 320 to prep it for stain. And you can reuse them and you can wash them out, and they last like 10 times longer, they claim. So impressed so far. So I'm gonna flip this over. We're gonna do a little quick sand on the top surface, and then we'll lay down the second coat. What I'm gonna try to do too is angle these a bit, because as I'm doing the final coat, I want all the edges accessible, so I don't have to lift it up and then touch the stain. Solid. I'm here in my son's room. The desk surface is finished, so now I've got to assemble it. I got the leg ready to go. I pre-drilled the holes, put a little countersink in there so that the screws into the screw heads will sit down in there as they poke up to the desk. This was a little bit sticky, and it was sticky way longer than it should have been. I brought it inside because it's cold outside to dry overnight, and it was still kind of sticky, and so I'd put some polyurethane spray on it last night. I used the brush on stuff on the desk surface itself, but it was still sticky, so I just hit this with some 320 sandpaper this morning, and then I wiped it down with some glass cleaner, and it actually seems fine now. So I'm just gonna run it, and I pre-drilled some holes in the side here, and I'm gonna mount some brackets too. This is why I've countersunk the holes in the legs, is because this screw sits off of this a little bit because this bracket's not countersunk, so I didn't want a gap in between the bracket and the legs. So now with those being countersunk, should be good. So I have one leg, and I'm going to mount the other sides to the other two sides to the wall. I've got these little L brackets, little countersunk holes for the screws, so I'm going to use those. Got some little longer screws that are going to the wall, and then the ones that came with this little pack are going to go up into the desk. So I'm trying to figure out how to level this thing and get it straight. It's kind of being a pain, but I also noticed that my countersink holes, while great, and these screw heads are in fact going in them, as soon as I tightened up the sides to the post, it bent the metal up, leaving a gap, which isn't great, but I'm gonna live with it. I try to mess with it a little bit, but it's not worth redoing too much, so not too noticeable. Now I just need to figure out how to stabilize this as I mount the other sides to the wall. Okay, that was a bit of a pain. If only things were twice as hard as you originally thought, it'd be easy. But thing looks pretty level to me on both ways. Sweet. Let's look dead on, and it's solid. That thing's not going anywhere. Freaking child could jump on the thing. Don't try that, Zane. So we need to install the monitor arms now. Alright, after tearing through all the boxes of my crap in the basement and the garage, I finally found the screws to these monitor arms, so we are in luck. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and the notification bell to get notified of all future videos. And until next time, fuel your passion.